So, hi everyone. It is our August Pink Table Talk. We are here with Touch the Black Breast Cancer Alliance and Art for the Love of My Girls campaign. Also here with Dr. Candace, and I'll let everybody do some quick intros. But first, I am Haley Brown, the Director of Programs and Partnerships at Touch the Black Breast Cancer Alliance. This lovely organization is run by my amazing mother, and under her tutelage, we have created this campaign for young Black women so they can really understand their Black breast health. And today we have some amazing people here that really shed light on how important it is to bring awareness to young women at various stages of their young adulthood. But yeah, let's hear from Dr. Candace. How are you today?
Good, Haley. Thanks. How are you?
Great, chilling.
Hi, everyone. Again, Dr. Candace
Hello.
Thompson. I'm a breast surgeon at Stanford University and very excited to be here today. I'm a co-host on the Pink Table Talk and really excited to have our survivors today. So I'll let them talk. I guess, Terlisa, if you want to start.
Hi, everyone. I'm Terlisa Shepherd, and I am a four-time breast cancer survivor of almost 25 years.
Great. Thank you so much for being here, Terlisa. And then Victoria, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Victoria Ekanoy. I am also a breast cancer survivor. I'm an actress, a singer, and a mother to a 2.5-year-old going on 12.
Love that. So just as I like to always ground ourselves in the work that we're doing, it's super important for us to know our why here. And so this campaign was really created because Black women under 35, which I'll show the video in a hot sec, but Black women under 35 get breast cancer at 2 times the rate, die at 3 times the rate. And the age for mammogram and screenings just changed from 50 to 40. We're super duper thankful for that, but it's still not matching our needs given that under 35 we're just disproportionately affected. And so this campaign was really designed to bridge that gap and to give young women the tools that they need to empower, equip, and educate themselves on how to be their own advocates, be the girl boss of their own health, the CEO of their own health. And it's really fun to announce, I don't know if you guys know this, and maybe you do, but this program just became official part of the WNBA. So we are going to be at basketball games coming.
Nice.
Yes, we're very excited. Because again, anytime we can even talk to just one woman, it's amazing. So a platform we can talk to many at one time, we're here for that. So I'm gonna quickly share my screen so you guys can quickly see our website, and then we're gonna get into some personal stories. But here you go. Here is our website for Love of My Girls. As you can see, we are taking the fear out of cancer. Early detection is going to save us. So if we can get young women thinking about this thing now and taking those proactive steps, that would just make our lives all the better. And so we're reaching out to 18 to 35-year-olds to really, 1, choose Black breast health. 2, unlock your her story, and 3, get to know your girls and know how and when to do so. So here's a quick video, and then we'll jump into some stories. Girl, 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 for the love of my girl.
Black women under 35 get breast cancer at 2 times the rate of white women and die at 3 times the rate. It's up to us to take care of our girls. The only solution is conversation. I choose Black breast health because protecting my girls means protecting all Black girls. I unlock my her story by talking with my family about our shared health history to know my personal risk. I get to know my girls as an act of self-care. Are you ready to get in touch with your girls? Visit loveofmygirls.org to get in touch with your girls. So again, we're here today to really shed light on how important it is for young women to realize this, because I don't think that not everybody understands how imperative it is for us to really start this conversation earlier. I know I'm at the point where I'm like,
you get your period, let's start talking about our boobs, let's do this, let's make this normal then, you know what I mean? Like, why not? Your body's already changing. But you guys have such a unique experience to share about another time when your body was massively changing and breast cancer came into your life, and that's why the show is called Breastfeeding and Breast Cancer. So would love to hear your stories. Terlisa, tell us your story. How did you find your breast cancer? Where are you in your journey now? We'd love to hear all the pieces as much as you're willing to give us.
Oh, I am a sharer because I believe in sharing my story to help someone else in some type of way. So I have no problem with it. So bring on the questions. Um, I actually was first diagnosed when I was 31 years old. And at that time, I was 8.5 months pregnant with my second daughter. My oldest daughter, she had just turned 2 years old the month before. So this has been all of their lives, growing up in the cancer center, growing through my diagnosis. I was under the constant care of my OBGYN at the time because of the pregnancy. And I kept noticing this lump and was closer to my armpit. And of course, every month as I started out, even as I was going along, I was seeing my OBGYN sooner than that. But I kept mentioning this lump, and he literally thought that it was clogged milk ducts and told me it was nothing to worry about. Me being naive, I went along with it, but I kept noticing that this it was only in that area and not under the other armpit. And you know, knowing my body, yeah, that was different, and it shouldn't have been there. But foolishly, I went along with it, and it got down to it. And I was mentioning this every time I would go back in for my appointment. And finally, at my 8.5 months, he told me, well, Terlisa, if you insist, we'll do a mammogram now and we'll do another one after you have the baby so that we can compare the two. We didn't make it to that second one. After the first mammogram, I was already stage 3 breast cancer.
If you insist, the fact that you had to insist, right? Just that language that you had to that he used is crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
yeah, keep going.
That was sort of playing down on, my whole feelings with what was going on with my body. So I did feel some type of way, when I got that verbiage, if you insist.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Every time I hear this story, I've heard it a lot growing up, and I've had the privilege to know you growing up because we went to church together. And I know your lovely daughters, and it's just still striking to me that even now we still hear stories like this. And I think it's very important to talk about how this can occur during pregnancy, and to, as you say, know your body and know if something is different, and be persistent in speaking with your medical professional about it and getting a biopsy, because things like this don't have to happen. You shouldn't have had to wait months to get a biopsy. We all know that your hormones change a lot during pregnancy, so there can be a lot of fluctuations within your breast tissue. But a persistent hard lump should definitely be looked at any point in a woman's life, and not overlooked even if they're pregnant. So thank you again for sharing your story.
No, thank you so much. It's just crazy to think. Yeah, because it's really hard to know what's normal in that moment, right? And what is when the doctor told you one you are not naive or foolish, that is on them, not you. But also it's hard to know what's normal in this moment, especially if even it doesn't even matter which child it is. It's this is my body is changing. So Victoria, I know you have something so much to say about your story. So please shed light on how you can relate and give us, who you are.
Well, firstly, I just want to say thank you for you still being here and having fought through it so much. And, there's a reason for that. And I hope that you, I don't know, can accept how much love that you probably receive for how much you're doing for the people by sharing your story. It's incredible. It really is. And good on you for pushing for yourself. Okay, so just as a little bit of a pretext, I'm the 5th person in my family to develop breast cancer, the 9th person to develop cancer, and we don't have the BRCA gene, just to kind of, although that's what we all assumed would be the case, and it isn't.
I hope they tested for other genes other than BRCA.
I have been, and I'm positive for a mutation of ATM.
Okay.
So, but we're now in the process of kind of having the rest of my family needs to go through the same, see where we are. I've got a younger sister, she's 12 years younger than me. And in my partner's family, the BRCA2 gene is there. And so that combined with ATM could be quite dangerous for our son. And so that's also something we need to look into. But yeah, to rewind, I was 39. My son was 6 months old, and I found a lump in my left breast as I was breastfeeding. I went for 2 separate private ultrasounds. They both said that I was fine. The second one, similar to your story, they said that they thought it was due to blocked milk ducts and to continue breastfeeding and to massage the breast as I'm feeding my son. Try to feed more on this side, just to kind of loosen that up, whatever it was they thought it was. But to continue breastfeeding until he was a year old, and then wait 1 month so that the milk could dry up essentially, so they could get a clear visual of the with the mammogram. And and that was for them to be sure. And in my mind, I was like, okay, so what you're saying is wait 6 more months so that you can see if you're right or not. I mean, just didn't sit well with me. But at the same time, these are medical professionals and at the top of their game. And this is, by the way, not me not saying don't listen to them, but it's me saying listen to yourself too, and your body, and and you have to know what your normal is. And advocate for yourself if needs be, because it did take for that third opinion for me to get my diagnosis. And I caught it so early. I was so lucky. I believe that my son saved me in the sense that I was breastfeeding, because the lumps would kind of protrude. You could see them when my breast would fill with milk. You could see them kind of pushing to the surface, because a second one had developed after a couple of months, which was really odd. I mean, it was just like my mind was just couldn't quite get my head around it. And I'd just booked a job, my first job after having my son. I was filming in Guadeloupe. I was there with my son and my mother, and found that second lump on set. I was just like, had to take myself off to a room and just, focus on the job. You can do nothing about it now. You'll be done in a week and a half. Get home, get to the doctor. That's kind of where I was. Sadly, at the same time as me finding the first lump, my partner's mum was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, which is where the BRCA2 comes in. And so I didn't tell him that I'd found the lump. And I didn't tell him that I was worried about it in the way that I was. And, but eventually I realized that, I just remember sitting there. We came back to England after I'd finished the job to visit her whilst she was going through chemotherapy. And I just remember sitting there and watching my son, my partner, his mum, and it just hit me that what if he loses us both? What does he do? And it was just a moment for me that I can close my eyes and see it and remember how I felt. So that was the night that I decided to tell him. Then I went straight to my GP. We were very lucky here within the NHS. I went to my GP, and because I was symptomatic, within 2 weeks, I was at the clinic. They did an ultrasound, a biopsy in both lumps, a mammogram, a needle test in my armpit, and then 7 days later, I was diagnosed. Had a double mastectomy, reconstruction, 7 lymph nodes removed from my left armpit. Within 2 of those lymph nodes, they found micrometastases, and they also found microinvasion in a part of my left breast because it was DCIS that they'd initially diagnosed me with. So thank God that we push for ourselves, right? Because we wouldn't be here otherwise. And my son may be, being raised by his father, who I know would do an incredible job, but I'm just grateful that that doesn't have to be the case. So now I'm just kind of doing what I can, working with everyone, yourself included, to affect, I guess, positive change. Just the awareness is there, but it's also about speaking to the decision makers, because things need to change. No one should be dying from breast cancer.
No, thank you so much, both of you, for being so candid and vulnerable here, because I think it is your stories that are going to like really bring this to light for so many young women and women in general, to like be like, oh my God, like I got to think about these things, especially if there are things that I can do to prevent these things, So thank you. And Victoria, when I first heard your story too, I was amazed because you just made such a clear point about like, I'm a healthy person. I didn't do this to myself. I'm not going to be ashamed about sharing this, right? I'm going to like make it very clear to the world that like, no, this is real. This is what we're doing. But like, you were just like, there should be no shame around this. Cause I feel like there are so many points in which, I mean, my mom's story, she had a hard time telling me at first. It wasn't until I got home from college and saw how sick that she was that that I saw it. And I was so mad because I was like, why'd you tell me? Like, what's going on here? But like it's hard to bring your family into something that is so unknown and so scary. So thank you guys both. And like, and Terlisa, like, I know that you have, you've been a mom to so many, probably including myself at this point. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, it's amazing to hear your stories. Thank you guys so much. It's like I'm feeling very I feel lighter because of you guys are sharing your stories at this point, which makes me feel really good going into like this season of breast cancer life. But yeah, so like what was it like, being in a time, I said comment on this earlier, but being in a time in which your body's changing so much because of kids, and now it's changing another layer because of this, so what was that like for you guys?
Well, for me, it was crazy, as you can imagine. I just had a 2-year-old. Now I'm pregnant and been told that I have breast cancer. So my body was going, and mine was all over the place. Um, had to immediately have my daughter 6 weeks early so that I can start treatments right away because the diagnosis was very aggressive. And, going through losing your hair, the pregnancy weight afterwards, you know, sadly, those were minute things because I have a breast cancer diagnosis waving over my head and trying to be a new mom, and body is all over the place. So it was a whole lot of different feelings, but one of the main things that kept me grounded is, I had those babies. I had to be present and upfront for my daughters. So I put a lot and most of my focus on that because of course, I was thinking that I wasn't going to be around long enough to see my babies grow up. So I had to focus on the moment that I was in at that moment. And that became critical to me than all the foolishness that was going on with my body.
Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with all at once. What about you, Victoria?
I think we'd had quite a, I say we, we had quite a traumatic birth anyway. I have sickle cell. And so that in itself was a whole heap of stuff. Like that was a lot for the birth. And I'd just gotten back on my feet once Theo was about 4 months old. So, you know, we kind of thought, oh, finally, we're past the BS. It's like we can move forwards with our lives. And then literally 8 weeks later, I'm like, what, you know. So, I mean, I don't know how you did it being pregnant, that fear of your life and your baby's life. And then, like you say, having a 2-year-old, I mean, I know how hard it was for me, but you're a superhero. I don't know how you did it.
Thank you. We all are.
Indeed. I mean, we are anyway without the cancer, you know, just being women, but and all that comes with that.
Absolutely.
And then on top of it, if you do decide to become a mother, that on top, and then, you know, we're constantly spinning plates. But I was very open about my my diagnosis, and I went public with it before my surgery. And I really had to think about whether or not to do that, because I know that I might not have made it out of the surgery, especially with the sickle cell. But in my mind, I was very acutely aware of the fact that I'd caught this so early because I acted quickly. And so me being open about it would help others potentially act quickly. And it could be the difference between, you know, life and death for people. I was really sad that we had to stop breastfeeding. It was a wonderful experience for me. And I know, you know, when some women struggle or don't want to. But he got a good 6 months and I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, all of the changes that you're going through psychologically too. So it's the mental health side of it, as well as, you know, your body, the hormones, everything, all of that. There's so much going on that it would be normal to assume that it's just because of that, especially if you're told you're fine, or twice, as the case may be. So that, I guess, again, you know, as we're all saying, it just hammers home the point that, you know, your own body it's you, the doctor can only do as much as you present to them, but you're home every day knowing what's different, knowing that you just don't feel right. And yeah, you have the power to save your own life and others potentially if you share.
I think that's a really important point, is doing breast exams even while you're pregnant, although there can be fluctuations in your breast during that time, especially. I think just knowing like what feels different to you and what feels what has changed. Can either of you describe like what exactly you felt for anyone watching?
For me, I mean, it was my breasts were changing daily, actually, because obviously they'd fill, go down, one would fill more than the other, he'd feed more on one side. It's a minefield as it is, but for me it was like a frozen chickpea, a frozen pea, like it, and it just was it didn't move, it didn't soften under pressure, it was just there and rigid and very apparent. And then this breast he didn't feed as well off it, so it was, you know, there was some sort of obstruction. And you know, there's a part of me that understands why it would be assumed to be blocked milk ducts, but for me, you just can't make assumptions like that, right? You can't.
That it was hard and rigid, and it didn't go down whenever the milk was gone. And you noticed there was also a protrusion, you said.
Yeah, it didn't, when I say it didn't go down, I mean the hardness of it remained the same throughout.
Right.
The only difference is the fuller my breast got with milk, the more it would protrude out of it, like the more it would just kind of be like, almost like, you know, like if that was smooth and then you've got the knuckle, it was almost like that, just there coming out of the skin. That's the only thing that I would say was different in the sense of how full my breast was, but it was there all the time, whether my breast was full or not. And that's why I was like, but then surely as I, you know, because I was also expressing, if I was expressing or he was feeding, that would change. So surely, even if a little bit, because it's releasing. And then when the second one came, I was like, okay. I hear what you're saying. I'm gonna go, you know, I'm grateful, I guess. As I say, I don't know if I'd have found it if I hadn't been breastfeeding. Not as quickly anyway.
And then for you, Terlisa, you said that you felt something under your arm as well. Can you describe?
Yes. And I felt it. I knew it was there, but I guess I was, waiting to get the reassurance from my medical team. And for whatever reason, I was going along with that until I just couldn't go along with it anymore. It just, as Victoria stated, it wouldn't go down. It was present and it was there. And at diagnosis, it was already 5.5 centimeters in size. That's how big it had gotten. It was growing right along with my pregnancy.
Okay.
And it's interesting too, because like my sister had a mole that grew on her back during her pregnancies, and then she got it removed and it came back during her next pregnancy and like had to get it checked out. But like things start to grow differently during like your feet, like all kinds of stuff. So it's like hard to know. Like I'm so glad that you guys advocated for yourself. It's so hard to know that this is a normal pregnancy change or if this is not right, you know? Yeah, no, like, and like, just so the world knows, it's like one, Terlisa, like you never see her without a smile. She's just like the most happy person ever. Like you would like, I just, yeah, the happiness that you exude is so amazing. So thank you for that. And like Victoria, like I didn't even think about how crazy it is for your experience, given that like you're famous. Like how do like you know what I mean? Like you actually are. And it's like, crazy to think like that you have to not only think about how you're dealing with this, but how the world's going to deal with this based on who you are to other people, you know, not even just your son, but like to your community and to the people that you've, served in the way that you served for as long as you have, So I just feel like, again, like so thankful to have you guys here. So like what's it like? Oh, okay, so you had a question.
Oh, I was just going to say, just for the audience, medically speaking, breast cancer during pregnancy is actually pretty rare. It is increasing, but it's actually very rare. It's significantly less than 1% of pregnancies have breast cancer or breast cancer diagnosis during pregnancy. But that's not to belittle anything. You should check your breasts. You should definitely be on top of your doctors. If you feel something, definitely say something. And then also just to note, I think Terlisa mentioned she had to deliver early because of this diagnosis. That's not always the case. Sometimes we're able to operate at any trimester technically. Chemotherapy and radiation, we want to wait until delivery. So if it's an earlier stage, then we can offer operation and then the rest of the therapy after delivery. However, if it's more advanced, that's when we have to discuss delivering earlier so that we can help save the mother's life as well as the baby's life. So just a few tidbits for anyone watching.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think it's like it's important to like know what is capable from the medical standpoint here, right? Because we're talking like such sensitive moments. And this just screams, like we say less than 1%, and like thankful for that. But also this screams how important it is to have individualized, unique care based on people's bodies, you know, just because you guys are this, you know, rare. And I'm so thankful that, you know, you had, you know, just like individualized care based on what you needed. I'm so glad that for you, the choice was made to save your baby and you in the way that they chose to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thankful. And gratitude is the only feeling you can have and not feel any other feeling at the same time. It's like this feeling that's so strong that's like, and so like you guys make me feel incredibly grateful. So thank you for that. So where are you guys now? What does survivorship look like? Where, you know, what does survivorship look like after this? I know, Victoria, you mentioned how like you view your son as like having saved your life. And like, so what does that mean for you guys now? What's life like today?
Today it's busy. I guess I've just become a woman on a mission, but I mean, aren't we all anyway? But on top of it, I'm filming a breast cancer documentary at the moment. I'm doing more on it than I think when we first spoke, I was going to be interviewing people, but now I'm full anchor and exec producer and writing music for it and all of the rest of it because why not? I mean, I'm at this point so grateful to have a platform to be able to do this kind of thing. I feel it's going to be the most important piece of work I ever do, even if I become the next Bond girl, you know, putting it out there in the universe.
Love that for you.
Yeah, right. Okay. And it's global. We've been out to Africa, we're coming to the States, in the UK, we're doing everything because African women, the diaspora, like all of that, it's like we're just diagnosed so late, and as you say, more likely to lose our battle. So we're looking into that. We're looking into the taboo and the shame of it all. But I'm also interviewing scientists and research teams and doctors, as well as survivors and families. And I'm hoping that this is, you know, the thing that my son is most proud of me for. I guess returning the favor to him for saving me. Hopefully this will save him and his partner, children one day.
Amazing.
You're getting there, Victoria. You know, I started out with a 2-year-old and a newborn, and they're almost 25 and 27 now. Young ladies.
Amazing.
But survivorship for me right now is living in the moment. You know, I was diagnosed metastatic almost 21 years ago. So technically, the cancer has metastasized pretty much all over my body, my bones, lungs, liver, spine, abdomen, and brain. And I see it as surviving in this moment. And I move to the next moment, and the next moment, I make, good use of every moment that I have. And for others around me, it's not, even from the start, it wasn't just about me. I'm doing whatever I can to try to support others through this and moving forward.
You're truly an inspiration. I mean, I just like it's, you know, in moments when I am struggling, I'm going to remember to think of women as amazing as you guys both are, because it's like, gosh, like I have not, you know, perspective, you know, just getting some perspective and gaining some reflecting on my own experiences is just like I could cry just knowing how amazing you are. And like, you know, again, I just like I when I see you, I don't see any of that. You know what I mean? You don't carry the weight of this on you. And that's just so beautiful. You seem light as a feather. I have that all the time. And so the fact that you're able to deal with that mentally, back to that mental health piece, is just like, I'm amazed. Like, can you be my therapist? Because I'm serious.
The mental health part is a big key.
Yeah,
I would
speak more to
definitely,
that.
yes.
Speak more to that.
Yes, I spend time in breaking away because being metastatic, I'm told that I will be on some type of treatments for the rest of my life. I can mentally let that get to me and, and start feeling down on myself or whatever. And like I said, I had babies going through this, teenagers, young adults, and I couldn't mentally, I knew that if I broke down, it also was going to be effect on them as well. And again, being a mother, the perspective just changes. And, the cancer survivor part was sort of, coming up the rear. But I had to put my all in being the mother that I wanted to be.
And I think you really did that. Like when I messaged you to see if you were available to be on the show, you were like, "Wait a second, I'm about to get my chemo treatment. Let me just respond to you." Like I wouldn't have expected you to respond to me like right before or even 3 days, like a week after. But it's like you just take this so well, and as Haley was saying, just to echo, it's like no one would ever know everything that you're going through. Like you're on like Good Morning America, multiple newscasts, you're traveling the world with your daughters. Like it's just amazing how resilient you are, and how much like joy you seem to have throughout all of this. So just
Well, we spoke on it earlier, being grateful. I'm grateful for platforms like this. I'm grateful for all of you all. It it feeds me, and I'm grateful.
No, I'm even, I think that, your son will soon realize this, Victoria, and your daughters are now, old enough to see like the strength that they will learn from the two of you given these experiences is unreal. You know what I mean? Like the strength that they will carry into their lives is just insurmountable, really. Because I think that um not everybody leads with as much strength as you guys have. Yeah. And just so another like, random plug around things that women can do, which will lead to my next question, but it's around so I've been working with this new company called Bexa. Victoria recently learned that they are international. So we should like figure out how we can. Yeah, I didn't know this until recently. But I brought them to a couple different events. It is a screening technology that you can get while breastfeeding. It is not invasive. You can get it during your pregnancy as well. And I was searching for this because my sister, her daughters are 2, 4, and 6. And we both said at this point in our life with our moms and our family history that we would start getting screened. And so I knew that I could get screened, but I wanted to make sure she could too. And that led me to searching, and it came to me otherwise, truly. But I was already on this search, like, how can I get my sister screened, given that she's been in or out of pregnancy or breastfeeding for the better half of the last decade, and so I wanted to we both got Bexa screening and we're both good to go, which is very exciting to say. But this screening, I would not replace it with a mammogram at this point. It's still, and Dr. Candice can speak to screening as well, because it's still very new, but it is a screening technology that is in testing. It's currently working on women with dense breast, which is amazing. It's non-invasive. and it has no radiation, which is why it's safe for women that are in their breastfeeding or pregnancy life. And it's like getting an ultrasound, so it's just like waving something over your chest, and they play spa music. You feel very zen. But yeah, if they see something through their detection system, they will pull out the ultrasound technology right there and then. But it is this new thing that I think, again, just expands just allows women of different walks of life to get access to the screening that they need and deserve. So just something to plug there. But that was my next question, is around just like, what advice do you guys have to young Black women who might have cancer in their family, or might not at all, might not have any knowledge of this disease at this point? But yeah, what would you advise young women to do? What are you telling your daughters, Terlisa? What are you going to tell your son and all of his friends and partners someday?
Oh, I'm definitely, please examine your body. Again, we were talking about this earlier on noticing differences and stuff. Get it checked out. And I'm always running around dropping little pamphlets, here, check this out, or whatever. So again, my daughters, they grew up in this. This has been all of their lives. So yeah, they always call me sometime being special, but hey, if it's to help someone else, then I am doing it, you know.
Amazing. You're amazing. I guess in line with what we're trying to kind of tell as many people as possible, women and men, is to become body aware frequently. So kind of, I have a lot of friends who check their breasts, after everything that happened with me. Now they're checking them, and then we're just in conversation and they're like, yeah, I check every day. And I'm like, no, don't do it every day. So it's also knowing the frequency, because I'm like, okay, so imagine you don't see me for a month and you might see my hair's grown a little bit, but if you see me every day, you don't see it growing. That's the kind of mentality that's how you have to see it. That's how you have to do it. Once a month, put it in your diary, make sure it's not when you're on your period, if you're still having periods. But check just to give yourself a little MOT and make sure that you mark anything down in the diary so you've got something to compare to, and just work out what your normal is. And then if something comes, I know the fear is there. I know that the fear is right up there with the reason why a lot of people don't go to the doctors. But there is no way that the fear of not knowing and the fear of wondering if you're going to hear something bad can be any worse than being so far down the line that they say they can't do anything to help. And then what that means for you and for your life, there's no comparison. And
that's the fear that I worry about, Victoria.
Yes.
I don't want to see anybody going through what I've gone through throughout my diagnosis. And that's why I'm so passionate about putting information out there, to help others and guide others through this.
And you are. I mean, just this in itself and everything else that they're saying that you do, you are. And it doesn't feel like an obligation. It feels like it's like a calling, like a purpose. How can we not help each other? It's hard enough as it is. And I mean, like I said before, the mental health side of things is maybe even more taboo with on top of it, people not talking about how they feel. Maybe more so in the UK. People don't talk about their feelings in the UK. So that's an additional problem. But yeah, I think as well, lifestyle has a huge part in all of this, what we put in our bodies, what we put on our bodies. And it's really hard because it's changing habits of a lifetime, generational habits with our food and our products and all of that stuff. But that's where I'm at the moment. I'm having blood tests and genetic tests to see if I'm predisposed to any other types of cancers, autoimmune diseases. Do whatever you can. to stay on the planet and, you know, help as many people as possible.
And I think you both are really doing that, especially for African American women. I think this is very important, this whole topic, just because we know that the mortality rate for African American females or Black females, but specifically in America, I'm not sure about the rates in the UK, but we know that our rates of mortality are almost 3 times that of our white counterparts. And we know basically the same for whenever we're diagnosed with breast cancer under the age of 35, which is what you all went through. So I think this is very important topic to talk about, so that we know that you are at risk of getting breast cancer when you are pregnant, and to just definitely be persistent. I think both of you spoke about getting extra, or getting the biopsies when you were told no. What did that process look like for both of you? Did you have to go see, I think Victoria, you mentioned having a third opinion.
Right.
And Terlisa, you had to fight with the same doctor several times. But what did the process look like with getting another opinion or getting that biopsy?
Well, I was, again, I was being a little naive and just sticking with that option. And once we started the ball rolling and I went in, the medical team there, they knew the size and the hardness. The minute that they did the biopsy, they knew that it was time to, I was yanked in several different directions for observations. And that's when, they decided to, my daughter was already 6 pounds, 6 ounces at 8.5 months. And with checking everything out, they figured that I could go ahead and deliver and start the treatment process then. But again, you know, persistence and moving forward to get that done. Because once I got it done, I got the biopsy and, yes, it was breast cancer, but I was able to move forward in my treatments and saving my life. And thankfully, there wasn't a problem with my newborn.
Mm. Do you have a gene at all? Do you have a
No,
gene?
I've taken genetic testing twice and been negative so far. And because of the longevity of almost 25 years, that's, why I did additional tests.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, for myself, they within the NHS, that it's called the One Stop Breast Clinic. That's the program, I guess, and they ensure that you are seen within 2 weeks.
Nice.
Then at that appointment, they do everything. So they did the biopsy, in both lumps, the mammogram, another ultrasound. And they'd found a lump in my armpit, so then they did a needle test in the armpit as well. And then they said, the consultant said, I'm not really happy with what I'm seeing, so if you can come back in a week's time and bring someone with you, which is the sentence we never want to hear, right?
And I was told immediately, get the biopsy. I literally drove myself down and thought that I was going back to work afterwards because I thought it was going to be a routine mammogram and everything. So I literally had to drive home from the doctor's office by myself with giving the news that I had breast.
I'm so sorry. I don't even, I mean, it's just, you were saying she's like light as a feather. And it's crazy that is the case, because that's so heavy, but you're so inspiring, you really are.
Again, I just can't thank you guys enough for sharing your stories. And what's so amazing to me about meeting so many amazing women like you guys in this ecosystem, is my mom being one of them, is, you know, she was in marketing before breast cancer and like just took all of those skills and put it towards getting, you guys saying this is your passion now. She calls it her God job in the same way, right? But like this is now this is who she is, you know. And sometimes I'm like, are you crazy? Or like, but like this is just you know, this is who she is, and she cares so deeply, and I see that in you guys as well. But the fact that you guys were able to take your skill set that you had developed for so long before this disease and then translate it into this world is just so amazing. You know, there was never fear around that. There was just like, oh no, I have this skill set, I'm going to now apply it here. And it's just it's, you know, your purpose is very, very clear in the work that you guys both do. I've you know, seen it, secretly stalked you both at various times in my life in the past year or so. So but yeah, I just like am thankful that you guys are here to continue to share and do this work, because neither of you guys are stopping. That's very, very clear as well.
Just beginning.
Yeah, yeah. But Dr. Candace, again, because I think it's so important for everyone to leave here with like actionable steps. I want people, young women, to leave here and say, like, what can I just do starting tomorrow, starting next month? Again, love the comment on frequency, Victoria. I think it's so important to understand the frequency with which we should be doing these things. So would love, Dr. Candace, if you could shed light on like just what the young women should be doing monthly, annually, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Victoria said it perfectly. You should be doing a self-breast exam every month, optimally not around the time of your period. And then you should, and whenever you're doing the self-breast exam, make sure that you check underneath the arm as well as the breast area. And then sitting up or standing up and laying down. And another important thing that she sort of slightly mentioned on is knowing your, what we like to call your her story, or your family story and your genetics. Haley brought up the website earlier, so definitely go on there, check out the document Knowing Your Her Story, because it's very important to talk with your doctor starting at age 25 to do a risk assessment, just determine whether or not you need genetic testing or you need to get screening earlier than age 40. These are perfect examples of women whose children may need to get screening starting at age 25 or even earlier. So definitely know your story, talk with your doctor about it, make sure that you're getting your mammogram starting at age 40 if you're not high risk, every year. So 40 annually is what we recommend, especially for the Black women watching, because we know that we have higher mortality rates and higher chances of getting triple negative disease, which is more difficult to treat. So those are some actionable items for anyone watching. And if you see something, let your doctor know. If they ignore you, go see another doctor.
Yeah, no, I thank you. And I'm going to show this worksheet really quickly because I love that you brought this up. And for someone like me who, similar to Terlisa, like my mom doesn't have any genes. I've yet to get genetic testing, but like my grandmother doesn't have any genes, but I have a great aunt, grandmother, and mother. So knowing her story is the best way that I can advocate for the screening that I need. And also begs the question of like, do we know all the genes that exist, right? It's possible that I always say that, but it's like a part of me is like has this mysterious like suspicion that we just don't. And
Yeah, we do not.
Yeah.
I can answer that, but we do know that there are a lot of high risk genes, including the ATM gene that Victoria mentioned. Other than BRCA, there's BRCA1 and 2, PALB2, CHEK2, and sorry, PALB, not PALB2, PALB, and then CHEK2, as well as the ATM. Those are all considered very high risk genes. And then there are a lot of others that we know about, but we don't know all of the genes, and there's not a lot of genetic research that has been done historically on people of color. So that's sort of a gap in our knowledge as well. So I think there's a lot to be done, but we are currently working on it diligently. So,
Thank God for you working on it.
well, not me personally, but
Well, you're still
some other projects. But there are a lot of doctors and scientists who are definitely analyzing different genes that affect women of color.
Yeah. So here's the worksheet so everyone knows. You can access it right here on the website. I'll just go down here under our Unlock Your Her Story tab. It'll take you here to the download, and then here's the worksheet. As you can see, it goes through not just breast cancer, but like lots of common Black diseases and things that affect Black families. So like you're going to get a full understanding of your family outside of breast cancer. And Victoria, today I gave a speech at a MedStar event, and one woman literally asked me, why isn't sickle cell on here? And it literally was just like, oh, like literally, it's so crazy that I'm seeing you today 2 hours later. And it's like, so now I like literally put it on my notes to go call my creative people to put it on that on here. Like, why isn't, it's just like two times in one day, clear sign it's a problem, and so I just, again, to honor the things that happen in Black families so we can, as Black people, just take ownership and understand our health. So this worksheet exists on our website, so please do it. It was approved by doctors like Dr. Candace, and so feasibly you could take this to your doctor and just be a larger part of the conversation when you're talking about your health. So please, everyone, go check it out. We're currently making a version that will be accessible online, so you can literally fill it out right then and there instead of printing it out. But come to our activations and get a hard copy if you're like me and still need a hard copy.
Or you I have a little plug. You can come to the events that I have in Oakland because I have hard copies to give out. The next event is September 9th at Preservation Park. I'll send out the Eventbrite so you can include it. But if you're in Oakland and you want to talk about breast health, and we have different topics, on September 9th, we'll be talking about nutrition and physical activity in relationships to breast health. So you can get a hard copy of your Her Story there as well.
On that note, just a couple other like shameless plugs, because I counted how many events that Touch will be doing this year, and it is over 55 we will have done by the end of this year, which means that we are doing more than one a week for some weeks, which is crazy. But again, there's no amount like this work is just
necessary.
Yeah, and you don't even acknowledge it as work because it's so important. So we're going to be tomorrow. I'm actually flying out to Flint, Michigan tomorrow morning to go do it a community day there. So if you are, we're recording this. But anyways, if you are in the DC area, we're going to be at an event called Color Vision. That is going to be, let me see exactly. That's going to be at in DC on September 23rd. On that day, there's also Unite for Her walk in the Philadelphia area, and then a gala of another breast cancer organization in Chicago. In general, come to the Touch website, come check out events if you are looking to get engaged in an in-person way. On that note, any last thoughts or things to share with the community? I can't thank you guys enough. And any last thoughts?
I am so thankful for this platform and for getting this information out there. It's so needed. Thank you.
Me too. I'm so humbled by how much work must go into everything that you're doing. And you're doing it. You're pushing, and we have to. I know that we have to, but we're choosing to as well, and it's really special.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being a part of this event today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys so much. And to everyone out there, stay in touch with your girls, and we will see you next month. Again, Pink Table Talk airs the last Sunday of every month at 3:00 on the blackdoctor.org Facebook page. So come check us out, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks.